Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to the last of these videos I ever probably gonna get to make. More on that in a moment. As you know, if you're a subscriber on my channel, one of my favorite year-end traditions is to look at the release list from Big Finish Productions, because Big Finish is the primary bulk of my content on this channel, and look at the releases planned for the upcoming year and do a top 10 ranking of the titles I'm most excited for. This year it would have been 2024. But over the past year and a little bit longer, I have noticed Big Finish is starting to change their approach to advertising and promotion. And it has made putting together this list incredibly difficult this year. I have theories and speculations onto why, and I'll share those in a moment, but let me just say, because if you've watched any of those videos, I always say, do this with the caveat, I can only talk about titles that we know about. Not just a title drop, but information on that title, because it gives me something to talk about, and that information is why I am excited. You can't just say, oh, I'm excited for the planned third Doctor release that's coming out next year, or I'm excited for the planned sixth Doctor release that's coming out. But if that release is something like, say they announced Waterworld early, a previous sixth Doctor title that I'm just using an example, and they said, oh, the sixth Doctor will be traveling with Mel and he'll be getting a new companion, and this is kind of what that story is going to be about. That gives me something to talk about. That's why I always formatted my list that way. We can't just have a title drop. We have to know something about it. And as I said, in the past year or so, Big Finish has kind of changed their approach to advertising and promotion, because they have been notoriously tight-lipped. Like, in the past, Big Finish would announce things years in advance. Like, they mostly do this with the Tom Baker stuff, as an example. Like a couple of years ago, when the Fourth Doctor Adventures Series 8 was coming out, with Jane Slavin, they announced that there was going to be an upcoming Tom Baker series with Louise Jameson and Nerys Hughes playing a new companion for the Fourth Doctor. And that release only came out this year. So that's the thing they do. They would make an early announcement with some information and then kind of continually tease you up until it came time for the release. They aren't doing that anymore. They are getting a little more tight-lipped about their releases and their future plans, and they aren't releasing them, and they aren't, promoting them until much closer to the release. Like, this week, I believe, they are releasing the Seventh Doctor's swan song. They are essentially giving him the Seventh Doctor, The Last Adventure, called The Last Day. I think it was like The Last Day or The Last Resort or something. They only just announced this was happening like mid to late November, and it's coming out like this week. It is December 27th at the time of recording this. And like I said, I have my own theories and speculations as to why they're doing this. Like, the big one is, and my speculation is that because BBC Studios don't have so much control over the show anymore, the new series of Doctor Who is being produced in-house in Russell T Davies' company, Bad Wolf Productions. So I would speculate that the BBC is really sinking their claws into what they have left, which is primarily the expanded universe. And we've seen this a lot in the past, especially with Big Finish, which again leads me to believe that this sort of change in advertising is why. The BBC is exerting much more creative control over Big Finish, and I believe the change in advertising is a result of that. Just because in the past we have seen the BBC exerting further control over Big Finish than they have before. For example, the Companion Chronicles. The Companion Chronicles was essentially a range of audiobooks meant to only star two people, the companion in question and a guest star. The conceit of the Companion Chronicles was that it was a companion recalling an adventure they had with the Doctor, hence the more audiobook approach. These originally began as a way to do adventures with the first four Doctors. They slowly expanded to feature other Doctors, and then they were scaled back to just the first two Doctors. And then with the most recent Companion Chronicles release, which was a couple years ago, if I recall correctly, it was a BBC mandate that said, no, you can't do these as audiobooks. They have to be full cast. And again, just this last year as well, we have seen the BBC exert control over other aspects, like the two Chibnall era spin-offs we were going to get, The Fugitive Doctor and Call Me Master. They were slated for a May 2023 release. And then their release date was changed to be announced. Joe Martin and Sacha Dhawan revealed they hadn't even gotten the chance to be in the studio to record for their stories yet. But that was all that was all we got. Just that, statements directly from Joe Martin and Sacha Dhawan. And in a podcast earlier this year, it was brought up like, hey, what's going on with The Fugitive Doctor and Call Me Master? And Nicholas Briggs and Benji Clifford said that the BBC is not allowing us to say anything about it. And similarly to, just one more example, Doctor Who's big 60th anniversary special, Once in Future. There is 8 stories. The first 7 stories have been released so far. The 8th and final story, Coda the Final Act, is not being released until November of next year. And again, on Twitter, they were promoting Once in Future, talking about it, and someone commented, hey, any news on Coda the Final Act? Can you move up the release date? Can you give us anything? A trailer, a cover reveal, something? And again, Big Finish responded, the BBC will not allow us. So it's like, and that's not even getting into the leak, which I suppose I can talk about a little bit in a moment, but so okay, let me give you some background on this leak. When Big Finish kind of did their big format change and started doing the new First Doctor adventures with Stephen Noonan in the role, they put out a production video, behind the scenes video, just of a bit of the recording process for his first set, interviews with the cast and crew, with Stephen Noonan and everyone else. And in that video, David Richardson, I believe it was either David Richardson or Jason Hagellery, said, this is a new era for the First Doctor at Big Finish, but we are still going to be using David Bradley. We are still going to be doing those First Doctor adventure sets with the cast of An Adventure in Space and Time. And then there was a leak. Nothing official, nothing confirmed yet. It was just a leak that I am dubious to accept because leaks can go either way. Like, the leaks about the 60th were all accurate, but all of the leaks about the Chibnall era were incredibly wrong, just as an example. But anyway, these leaks said that there was a David Bradley set getting ready to be released and recorded and produced, but it was going to be a Doctor Who Unbound set meant to be in the tone and style of the Peter Cushing movies. And there has been some talk, again, some speculation saying that the BBC is responsible for this decision because they don't want 2 different First Doctors. All of this to, again, just to kind of support, to lend credence to my theory that the reason the advertising has changed so drastically is because the BBC is exerting more and more control over Big Finish, an approach that I am incredibly nervous about. Like, earlier this year, when it kind of became clear through, again, those tweets and those interviews and stuff about it, that the BBC is kind of exerting more control over Big Finish, there was an entire subset of the fans who believe fan service is always bad that were cheering. I don't subscribe to that theory because, like anything else, it's in the execution, not the idea. And this worries me because, like when like when what was it? The license shifted from Virgin Publishing to BBC Books in the 90s with the Doctor Who books. This is going to lead to a drop in quality because of how the BBC wants to handle things, and the BBC's regular approach as a media conglomerate to things. Like, this is going to creatively neuter and sterilize Big Finish. I am incredibly worried if it is true just how much control the BBC is exerting over Big Finish. I am worried they are going to creatively sterilize Big Finish. But that's neither here nor there. That is a rant I am not going to have. I'm just saying that this is why I believe the change in advertising happened. I keep saying that. I keep going around and round in circles and getting to that point. But because of that, it has led to much fewer titles being released. And I am hesitantly calling this the last time I get to do this kind of video. But because, of course, we'll have to see how next year plays out and how they're going to announce 2025 releases, just to see what happens. But if it keeps going the way it does, yeah, this might be the last video. But still, let's go out on a fun note, and kind of send this video off on a good note, kind of send this series off on a good note, and look at some titles anyway that I am still looking forward to. I'm not going to do as a full, comprehensive list as I normally do. Let's just shoot them off real quick. Let me grab my list, because I did kind of write them down. Okay. The audio novels, The Chaos Cascade. I keep saying I really need to get into the audio novels. From what I've heard from my friends and mutuals and other people who do Big Finish, the audio novels is a really good range. The audio novels is Big Finish's newest Doctor Who range that just does straight audiobooks. I have only heard one so far, the 12th Doctor one, Emissary of the Daleks, and that was really good. And this is another one that I'm kind of looking forward to because it's the Capaldi era, which is one of my favorite eras of New Who. And we've got the 12th Doctor, Tanya Bell, a Big Finish exclusive companion from the 8th Doctor story arc Stranded, as well as the 9th Doctor adventures, and Missy. So yeah, just really looking forward to some more 12th Doctor love. The First Doctor adventures, Fugitive of the Daleks. Like I said in last year's video, counting down my 2023 releases, I'm a sucker for a gimmick, and you can't get a better gimmick than a doctor meeting their companion older after they've parted ways. Like, despite the lukewarm, mixed things I've heard about it, I still want to get the return of Jo Jones. Or, I still want to hear the big 5th Doctor Nyssa arc, where the 5th Doctor Tegan and Turlough meet an older Nyssa after the events of Terminus. And this one sees the First Doctor and Dodo meet an older Vicky after the events of the Mythmakers. It just looks really fun. I really like Maureen O'Brien as an actress. Vicky is one of my favorite First Doctor companions. So just looking forward to it. And I really need to get into the new First Doctor adventures with Stephen Noonan. All right, what's next? Master, Planet Doom. After a gap year, we are getting a 3rd season of Eric Roberts' Master spinoff. I enjoy Master a lot. Series 1 was phenomenal. Series 2 was a bit of a step down, but it was still really good. And it's a great new way to reintegrate Vienna because it doesn't seem like we're doing any more of her spinoff. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if her spinoff ended or if it was just, quietly canceled or in development hell or something. But this is a good way to keep the character going. Chase Masterson and Eric Roberts work well together and have good chemistry. And I am really intrigued by the premise of this one. Basically, the Master and Vienna are put into a situation where they have to team up together, and they get to fight the Axons. Claws of Axos. Fun. And judging by the cover, even though he's not listed in the credits in the billing on the cover, it looks like we will get, after Ravenous 4, another reunion between Paul McGann and Eric Roberts. So that's always fun. The 4th Doctor adventures, Storm of the Sea Devils. So, a few years ago, we started getting a new sort of unit character, possible companion named Naomi Cross, who seems to be teaming up with Harry Sullivan. They have appeared in the unit, the penultimate, the final unit miniseries, Unit Nemesis, and they have showed up as companions to the Seventh Doctor, primarily in the Seventh Doctor set Sullivan and Cross, a set I really want to get. But this all began with the Fourth Doctor, and it looks like, again, because of the timeline of, when Tom Baker records a series versus when that series actually gets released, it looks like we are finally getting the beginning of the Sullivan and Cross arc. And this set features the Sea Devils, which is most of what my hype is for, because of the Silurians and the Sea Devils, I honestly, in terms of aesthetic, because they are kind of the exact same monster, I honestly prefer the Sea Devils. And this is Big Finish's only second time using the Sea Devil, so I'm always down for more Sea Devil stuff. Let's see what's next. Classic Doctors, New Monsters, Broken Memories. The fourth release in Classic Doctors, New Monsters. Where we kind of see throughout all of Doctor Who, the Doctor seems to have this knowledge of the aliens and monsters he's facing, but how did he get that knowledge? Well, presumably because of an earlier encounter with them, and that's kind of what Classic Doctors, New Monsters is. We've always had fun combinations, like the Seventh Doctor and the Sycorax, the Sixth Doctor and the Carrionites, the Fourth Doctor and the Vashta Nerada. So this set sees Tom Baker, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann facing monsters including the Brains from The Return of Dr. Mysterio, I'm blanking on the name, the Clockwork Robots, and the Silence. Really interesting to see who gets paired up where, because reading the summary, the story summary, it's really vague on who's doing what. Alright, what's next? Missy, Series 4, Bad Influence. Again, after another gap, presumably because Michelle Gomez was busy with Doom Patrol, Missy is back in her fourth series. I love Missy so much. It is probably my favorite Master spinoff, just because it does Missy so well. Like, it lets her be her chaotic self, but unlike Moffat's writing, it also lets her be the Master. And the premise of this set sounds really fun. Like, Missy is going to cross paths with other types of villains, and, she's kind of going to leave her impression on them. Alright, next up. Once in Future, Coda, The Final Act. The finale to Big Finish's 60th anniversary celebration of Doctor Who, which, now that I've seen the specials, was the better celebration. Again, we just don't know much about what this story's gonna be. Like, the fact it's called Coda leads me to believe it's more of an epilogue than an actual story or a part of the arc. But, we just don't have much. Like, what Doctor is it gonna star? There is speculation, again, that the reason we have not heard anything about it, or, we haven't gotten any information of any kind, not even a cover reveal, is because there is something in this story that is still relevant to the TV show. And the final thing I'm going to bring up, Sontarans versus Rutans. This is a 1 minute, because I keep looking at my list. 1, 2, 3, 4-part miniseries Big Finish is doing, releasing them as single releases, which is an interesting move. So a bit of backstory. In the Time Warrior, when the Sontarans were first introduced, what is that? That's not a word. It was mentioned that they were in a war with a race called the Rutans. The Rutans have only ever had one TV story. The Tom Baker story, Horror of Fang Rock. And then cut several decades later to New Who, the Sontaran Stratagem, The Poison Sky, and Russell T Davies basically said, oh, we're not gonna worry about the Rutans anymore. The Sontarans dealt with it, now they just are mad they can't enter the Time War. Gee, Russell T Davies coming up with a stupid decision. Color me shocked. Now, outside of Horror of Fang Rock, the Rutans have only showed up in the expanded universe, comics, books, other audios. Like, off the top of my head, I can remember the first Sontarans being one where they show up. But all of that aside, it has led to my own personal belief that the Sontaran-Rutan War is one of Doctor Who's biggest missed opportunities. And it looks like Big Finish is finally going to tackle that event. So I'm looking forward to it. This is a 4-part series. Again, the 4 stories are Battle of Giants Causeway, The Children of the Future, Born to Die, and In Name Only. And we only have some information on the first story right now, Battle of Giants Causeway. Actually, I believe today, at the time of recording, they have started leaking some information on the second story, The Children of the Future. But we know this set is going to star Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, Tim Treloar as the 3rd Doctor, Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, which I'm kind of hyped for, because look at the cover, blue-suited 60 is back, and Jonathan Carley as the War Doctor. I'm kind of interested to see how this miniseries plays out and see what the Sontaran-Rutan War actually is. And then there's just other aspects of it to be excited about, like in the 8th Doctor story, the Battle of Giants Causeway. This is an 8th Doctor story with Charlotte Pollard, and Cariz. This is the first story to feature Conrad Westmas as Cariz in like 2 decades. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, this might be the final time I get to do this. Oh shoot, I missed one. The 3rd Doctor Adventures, Prisoner in Space. I love the reformat of the 3rd Doctor Adventures doing 7-part serials. The thing the 3rd Doctor is kind of known for, even though they only did it for 1 season. And I like also that we're kind of pivoting away from Joe. I love Joe, don't get me wrong, but pretty much all 3rd Doctor content has been Joe Grant. It's nice to see Season 7 and Season 11 getting some love. Anyway, sorry about that. So those are the titles from Big Finish for 2024 I'm looking forward to. Like I said, because of the change in approach to promotion, this might be the last time I get to make this list. So what are you looking forward to? Let's go out on a fun note. Start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. Share the video around, please. All of it helps my channel grow. And in the description box below, you'll find the link to my social medias where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is... Whoops, hit my mic. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.